She's one of the best-known TV personalities in the world. She's an author, she's an entrepreneur, and she's the Chief Development Officer for the National Association of Professional Women. She's also one of my very, very best friends, and she's here to talk to me about women, leadership, networking, and much more. Joining us now at HuffPost Live is the legendary Star Jones.
You know, I love your introductions. You can pick up your check after.
Thank you.
I'd be looking to 2016 to see who might just enter into the race. So
It's funny you say that. 2016. There are some names circulating.
there's a couple.
One in particular I find interesting. It's someone who you've had a very good relationship with, a very supportive relationship with, and that is Hillary Clinton.
The secretary has been just a mentor to me as a professional woman and women across this country. She is everything that a presidential candidate should be in terms of credentials and support, and we're just waiting for her to make the decision as to whether or not she's going to run.
There was an interesting conversation last week about Chelsea Clinton being pregnant. And people started to say, well, do we want a grandmother in the White House? I found that conversation so bizarre.
We've had grandfathers in the White House. We've had grandfathers in the White House since time began.
Yeah, George Bush, the last George Bush was a grandfather.
I mean, the fact that this is a conversation that is had with all of the issues that face the United States of America, you're worried about whether Granny can be president? Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on. Come on.
It's nuts to me.
How many grandchildren did Romney have? He has a bunch of grandchildren, beautiful kids.
Yeah.
Nobody ever was concerned about that.
Yeah.
So let's be consistent when it comes to the presidential election. That's what I'm praying and hoping for, and if not, that's what I'm fighting for.
I know that's right. Do you have any concerns? Are there any potential concerns you think of Hillary running? Do you anticipate any major challenges for her?
Well, there's definitely going to be major challenges. You know, I read an article in the New York Times talking about how if Secretary Clinton does decide to run, it would sort of cancel out other women. And I thought that was very interesting. There have been two men at the top of the ticket for all times except a couple, as I recall. Yeah. And so thinking about two women at the top of the ticket seems like a pretty interesting idea. As a matter of fact, anybody who would have a problem with two women at the top of the ticket would have a problem with Hillary at the top of the ticket. Right. So it might be better just to pick the best people instead of trying to worry about are they male or female.
I think some people are worried Elizabeth Warren could run and suddenly people would have to choose between two women. I think people still veil racial animus, like you can hide that, but gender animus, I think there are people who'll be very publicly saying like, I don't want a woman with her finger on the button. I don't want a woman as our commander-in-chief. I think, sadly, that will be a conversation.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Because President Reagan, it's towards the end of his presidency, you know, the rumor was that Mrs. Reagan was taking care of business herself.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly. We go back to Roosevelt. Women have been handling business for a long time in the White House.
Women know how to handle business, trust and believe. And to be honest with you, I don't want anybody with their finger on the button. I would rather have people sitting around the table figuring out how diplomatically to solve our issues than having to be aggressive. And that's one thing that I know that women do bring to the table.
We have some comments and questions coming in from the HuffPost community. A couple in particular that I wanted to read to you. Let's see here. Star, this comes from Gay Dude. He says, Star, do you think the Affordable Care Act will empower women to be more amazing and have health care and do what they want to do?
Well, you know what? I'm so glad that he asked that question because the Affordable Care Act will impact on women in ways like nobody can imagine. You know that we hit over 8 million people who signed up for the Affordable Care Act, and a huge majority were young people under 30 years old, which is what will change health care in America. Women will be able to have preventative health care. And you're looking at your friend because you, of course, know my history. Preventive health care is what saved my life.
Yes.
I had open heart surgery 4 years ago. And because they could diagnose it early enough before I had a cardiac incident, I could elect to have open heart surgery, elect to have cardiac rehabilitation, and be where I am right now. So yes, it is going to improve the health care of women across this country, which then improves the health care of families across this country, which improves the health care of the next generation. And that's what we want, healthy generations to come.
Absolutely. and all this stuff will be talked about at this amazing conference that's coming up this week.
Oh, you better believe it. Absolutely.
Well, we're excited to have you here. We're excited that you're doing this amazing work.
Thank you, Mark. This is where my purpose is. This is actually where I belong, and I'm happy to do it.
You shouldn't say I don't, because you never. If you met Bill Gates and he wanted to take it in the ass, and you know there's a ring involved, you gotta be flexible.